This is Rummy's Corner. So these were my heavyweight rankings from June of last year. I realize it's now April, but with everything effectively on lockdown because of the virus, I'm not expecting anything to change between now and May. These are unprecedented times where boxing and indeed all of professional sports are now at a standstill. So here are my updated heavyweight rankings for May 2020. The following list is, of course, just my personal opinion, but this is how I see things as of right now during this hiatus. Number 10, Robert Helenius, the Nordic Nightmare. He sneaks into my top 10 following his impressive win against previously undefeated Adam Kaunatsky. Helenius was victorious by 4th round technical knockout, and this victory helped to resurrect his once promising career. Helenius is now 36 years old, and his best days might be behind him, but the victory against Kaunatsky puts him back in the discussion. And when boxing ultimately resumes, he should certainly be in line for another big fight sooner or later. Number 9, Alexander Povetkin. Povetkin remains exactly where he was for me. Number 9. Since my last ranking, he's fought twice. He won a 12-round unanimous decision against Hughie Fury in August of last year, and following that, Povetkin had a 12-round draw against Michael Hunter. The bout against Hunter was competitive, and there were a lot of close rounds in that one that could have reasonably gone either way. Povetkin is 40 going on 41, and his best days are clearly behind him, but he still remains one of the most talented heavyweights competing, at least for now. Povetkin was actually scheduled to face Dillion White on July 4th, but whether that will actually happen is anyone's guess. Number 8, Alexander Usyk. Since my last ranking, Usyk made his debut at heavyweight where he scored a 7th round stoppage against Chaz Witherspoon. While Usyk still hasn't proven much of anything at heavyweight, he moved up 2 spots for me. The former undisputed cruiserweight world champion still has many questions to answer regarding his ability to handle the size and strength of an elite-level heavyweight. But he has the skills, the ring IQ, and the speed that it will be interesting to see how he holds up against those top guys. It will be interesting to see where Usyk goes from here. I don't think he's necessarily ready for the top guys, but he has name value, so he could be in the mix for a title shot sooner than later, especially since he is ranked as the #1 heavyweight according to the WBO. Number 7, Luis Ortiz, King Kong. Ortiz dropped 1 spot in my ranking. He had just 1 fight since my last ranking where he had made a decent account of himself in his rematch with Deontay Wilder before Wilder scored the devastating knockout blow in round 7. Ortiz is reportedly 41 years old, and some believe he's actually even older. Still, to date he has lost twice, both times by stoppage against Wilder. Ortiz is another guy who's getting older, his best days are behind him, and I'm not really sure where he goes from here or if he's long for top 10 consideration. But for the time being, he still has the skills and the pop that he could prove to be a challenging matchup for any heavyweight currently competing. Number 6, Joseph Parker. Parker moves up 1 spot for me. Since my last ranking, Parker has fought twice and won both of those fights inside the distance. Late last June, Parker was able to repeatedly land flush shots against Alex Leapai. That one was ultimately stopped by the referee in round 10. And back in February, Parker scored a 5th round stoppage victory against Shondell Winters. And the only 2 losses on his ledger came against Anthony Joshua and Dillion White. The fight against White from July 2018 was considered somewhat controversial in some circles, but regardless, the former WBO heavyweight champion is still very much in title contention. And speaking of Dillion White, I currently have him in the number 5 spot. The body snatcher has had 2 fights since my last ranking. In July of last year, White was awarded a 12-round unanimous decision against undefeated contender Oscar Rivas. And last December, White won a 10-round unanimous decision against Marius Vach. So White just turned 32 years old earlier this month, and since suffering his only professional loss back in 2015 against Anthony Joshua, White has scored some quality victories, and he is currently the highest-ranked contender for the WBC belt. As mentioned, White was technically scheduled to face Povetkin in July, and it would be great to see that matchup, even if it needs to be pushed back because of the virus. Number 4, Andy Ruiz Jr., the Destroyer. The former unified heavyweight world champion has fought just once since my last ranking, and that was his rematch against AJ, where Ruiz lost a lopsided decision against the man he had previously beaten to become champion. Ruiz did not look good in the AJ rematch, and a lot of fans are writing him off as a modern-day Buster Douglas. But Ruiz is still a very skilled operator when he's focused and in shape, and I'm personally not quick to write him off just yet. His victory against Joshua last June is still among the very best wins in the division over these past 2 years. If Ruiz can become focused and disciplined, I believe he could still make some noise at the elite level. Number 3, Deontay Wilder, the Bronze Bomber. Wilder has fought twice since my last ranking. In November of last year, Wilder scored a 7th-round highlight reel knockout in his rematch against Ortiz. That marked Wilder's 10th consecutive defense of his WBC title. And of course, back in February, Wilder suffered his first loss as a professional when he was stopped in his rematch against Tyson Fury. Wilder is another guy that a lot of boxing fans seem to be writing off, and again, I'm not quick to write Wilder off just yet. Fury is the only guy so far that Wilder has had a great deal of trouble against where he couldn't figure him out. There is no shame in that. Wilder still has that equalizer, that nuclear right hand. Wilder was eager to exercise his rematch clause, so it appears a third fight with Fury will be next when boxing resumes. Number 2, Anthony Joshua, AJ. Joshua had one fight since my last ranking, and that was his dominant effort against Ruiz, where AJ reclaimed the titles against the man he had lost them against. So Joshua is the unified IBF, WBA, WBO heavyweight world champion. Right now he has a couple of mandatories coming up. As mentioned earlier, Usyk is the top-ranked contender for the WBO crown, and Kubrat Pulev is the top-ranked guy for AJ's IBF belt. AJ was originally scheduled to face Pulev in June, but that got delayed because of the virus. So that one is postponed, but there is still a good chance we will get to see that one once boxing resumes. And number 1, Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King. Fury has fought twice since my last ranking. Last September, Fury earned a unanimous decision in a workmanlike effort against the previously undefeated Otto Wallin. And then, of course, in February, Fury put forth a dominant effort in his rematch against Wilder, where Fury scored a 7th-round stoppage. The Gypsy King is now recognized as the WBC heavyweight world champion, in addition to maintaining his valid claim as the lineal heavyweight champion, a distinction he earned when he won a lopsided decision against long-reigning champion Vladimir Klitschko back in November 2015. It looks like we will get a third fight between Fury and Wilder once boxing resumes. Originally, they were looking at a July date for this one, where once again the virus put things on hold. So my current top 10 heavyweight ranking looks like this. Of course, the one match every boxing fan wants to see is a mega bout showdown between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. In an ideal world, that fight would be happening next, where all mandatory obligations should be put on hold, for the good of the division and the good of the sport. Fury versus Joshua is the fight we need right now. The winner of that matchup would become the first undisputed heavyweight champion since the great Lennox Lewis. But in the meantime, the division remains interesting. Some of those boxers near the bottom of the list are getting older and seem to be on their way out sooner than later. We have new contenders working their way up, and there are a lot of potentially interesting matchups that can happen between these top 10 heavyweights, with Fury Joshua being at the top of that list. I, for one, cannot wait for boxing to resume, and I'm particularly interested in seeing how the heavyweight landscape evolves. In the meantime, please stay safe, everyone. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and have a wonderful night. This is Rummy's Corner.